Hi again. So last time we promised that we would explain how we can give a bit more the styling to this part of our table, this part of the game. So let's go and do that. So we'll obviously have to go to our styling file where we're adding all our styles. So what do we need at the moment? So we'll have to have a look. We've got, I guess, well, the first thing is very small, isn't it? This is very small. Everything's like one thing after the other. We can't even really appreciate that this is actually a table. So let's see what we can do about that. We've got an element which is the table itself. So we just call it table. By the way, I'm just putting in the name of the elements, okay? This is the most basic way, I guess, to apply styles. But there is a way to, and every element it finds on the page that is a tag that is defined with a tag called body, well, it's going to get these styles. Any tag that has table, well, it's going to have the styles we define here. There are other ways we can specify when we have the attribute that we showed before with an ID. We can do that as well. If we had an ID, we could reference only that element with that notation with a hash before it. But anyway, and if we can define classes, anyway, I don't want to get into that at this stage, but just so you know that that exists. So we're just using here the names of the elements. So we're using table. There's only one table, so there's no problem. We want a margin, don't we? We want to separate a bit the table from the rest, the button down the bottom and this status message. So there's an actual style which is margin. Let's look it up, okay? So we can see the options we have. So down here it's talking about margins. Margins are used to create space around elements. And so it's talking about here we've got margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left. So, and then we have a shorthand way of writing margin. So it'd be just using, instead of margin top, margin right, and defining them separately, we can use just this one margin thing to describe it. Okay, so it's got, we say margin, then when we have four different measures here. As you can see, it's got px. Each one has got a px after it. What does the px stand for? It stands for pixels. Okay, so we're dividing our screen into pixels, just all the little pixels. Well, that's like as a unit of measure. And so it goes, as it describes here, it goes in the same as a clock. It goes clockwise. Okay, so we start up at 12 o'clock, and we go around to 3, 6, 9. Okay, so the top, right, bottom, left, and those are the four. There are the four values: top, right, bottom, and left. So we can define different just one line instead of having one line for the top, another line for the right, another line for the bottom. Here it's describing how we can use this to include it all on one line. Or we can reduce the number of values we're including. So in this case, the top and the bottom are going to be 25, and the right and the left are both going to have 50 pixels on each side. And another one even simpler is just with one value. So this is going to establish 25 pixels as a margin on the top, on the right, on the bottom, and on the left. So let's use that because we want to have plenty of space all around for our table. We could establish, how many pixels shall we put? Well, we'll try with 25 pixels, okay? So one of the things here is maybe you can't really think of pixels. There are other ways of measuring as well, but pixels is kind of the basic one. So we'll go with pixels. We've done that, so we've saved the file. We go back, reload. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? Now it's a bit more separated from the other things. We could even give a bit more, maybe. Let's give it 50. Let's see how that looks. And go back 50. Okay, looks a bit funny now because it's so small, but maybe it'll be okay when we give a bit more, because I suppose we want this to be a bit bigger inside the table as well. So let's try and do that. Styles. So we want each of the cells. So we've given a style for the whole table, but we want individually each of the cells also to be bigger. So we said that each of those cells is a TD element, isn't it? Table data. So in each of those ones, we can say, how we're going to do this, we could establish a width and a height. Let's give it 75 pixels. We'll see if maybe that's too big, I don't know. Let's try it out. The thing is, give it an initial value and then we can adjust. Okay, we've got that. Now what happens here is there's no borders or anything here to separate each of them. It looks a bit funny. So there is actually another style we could give. We could actually give a border to the whole table first. So, back here, as we were saying before, we can look back, look for borders. There'll be something about borders around here somewhere. Can't see it at the moment. Backgrounds, borders, here we go. Okay, basically explains how all the different types, there are dots, solids, and groove, ridge, outset, and dotted, dashed, and the different ways of defining it. I'll let you read up on that if you like. And but basically here there's a short, as there was with the margin style, that we can also have the shorthand style for the border. So we could say it's a solid border, and we'll just give it 1 pixel would be the width of the border. And what else? We'll give it a color. Well, it'll have to be white because we've already got a black background. So we'll save that, reload. There we go, we've got a border. And we can give a border for each cell as well. So let's do that. We just put the same kind of border just to make things easy. Let's reload. There we go. Now the next problem we find here is that these are they're sitting right on the left. We want them to be in the middle. How could we do that? Well, there's another property that we can use, which is text align, and we want the text to align to the center. Let's reload. There we go, that's looking a bit better. There we go. Looking a bit more like that, isn't it? Oh, this other one's a bit bigger. Let's make it bigger. Let's give it 100. Let's see how that looks. There we go, it's looking more interesting. Let's give it less of a margin on the table, otherwise we're not fitting it in properly. Here we go. Reload again. There we go, we can see everything now. Okay, what about the text? This text looks very small. Let's make the text bigger. We can make, all the text is going to be the same, so we can apply, once we apply a style in the table, it's going to be applied to everything inside the table. Okay, that's the kind of the cascading. So we apply something, the text font for the text file size, sorry, for the table, and it'll be applied for everything that's inside the table. So let's go back, font size. Let's give it a font size of what, 20 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Where are we here? Reload. It's only a little bit bigger, isn't it? We can make these a lot bigger, 20 instead of 20, 50. See how 50 looks. That looks better. But these letters look a bit strange, don't they? So maybe we'll have to change the font on this. Anyway, this is getting a bit long, this video, so we'll do the font. We'll fix up the font for this in the next video. Okay, we can also see the different options we have for different fonts we can use. Okay, but we'll save that for the next video. See ya.